And a very warm welcome to everybody joining us on today's very special webinar. I don't think it probably could have fallen on a better day. So May the 4th. So Lightspeed to awesome Wi-Fi. And in this Ekahau webinar series, we are going to be showing you and covering how you can accelerate your designs and validations by using some of our awesome features inside of our tools. So without further ado, Mac, why don't you give us a round of introductions? I remember my first Zoom meeting as well, Mac, if you want to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, so I muted myself instead of unmuting myself just before. So guys, if I was a Star Wars guy, I would have been a Chewbacca. And Matthew, who would you be?
You would probably say R2D2, if I was guessing, would be the next joke.
Okay. Well done with the Star Wars reference. I was really wondering if you would be able to come up with a single name for this one. It's like you can take a revenge asking me about football. So this is who we are, Matt and Mac, directors of ECAC and product marketing at Ekahau, joined by our beautiful friends, Stu and Dale, sales engineers in Americas. Hello, guys. Extremely happy to have you here. How is everyone doing today?
Hey, doing good here today, guys. I'm looking forward to today's session. Glad to see all the global representation here on this call.
Yeah, we even have some Ewoks. So welcome, everyone. We really love all the races from all the planets.
Well, actually, before we kick off the webinar today, Mac, there's something quite exciting I think we should probably let everybody on the call know about today.
Oh, yeah. You mean that little thing. So, guys, we are launching something amazing. It's so absolutely smashing that you will cry when you see that, okay? We can't tell you exactly what it is yet, but we've decided to launch it a little bit faster than on Thursday, because on Thursday there is some unavailability globally happening. So we've decided to launch it on Wednesday instead. And it's so cool, it's so amazing that actually your Wednesday will be so relaxed and filled with joy and happiness that it will feel like it's a Friday. So please scan that QR code and join us in almost 2 weeks' time on Wednesday for this amazing launch. You will not be disappointed. You will love that from the bottom of your hearts, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely. You're definitely not going to want to miss this one. It is super, super cool. Okay. So discussing some workflows then, and basically what we want to just let everybody know is that Ekahau is with you through every step of the journey in the Wi-Fi lifecycle. Whether it's initially when you go to design the wireless network, you can use our amazing Ekahau AI Pro software to build your predictive models. You can go on site with your Sidekick 2 to gather that super accurate measurements to make sure your predictive models are perfectly accurate and got the right number of access points in their right locations right first time. And then once your beautiful design has been deployed, you can then go back on site, validate with your Sidekick using the survey app with your mobile devices and ensuring everything is looking how it should be. And then finally, one of the most crucial parts to keeping a wireless network great is regularly checking it with health checks, ensuring that the network stays high performing. You keep an eye out for any of those naughty interferers that come into the site or people making some tweaks or changes to the environment. It doesn't even have to be to the wireless. It can be physically making some changes to the environment. You can stay ahead of the game and counter it before it becomes a problem. So we are going to be talking about workflows and how we can help speed up these processes during your Wi-Fi lifecycle using the Ekahau tools. But first of all, Mac, actually, we had a bit of an update recently. Maybe you can cover it because there's a few of the new features that came out that people were really excited about last time.
Yep. So guys, in case you missed it, we've released a new version, new update of Ekahau AI Pro. It's sitting on version 11.2 now, and we have a light mode, as you can see on the screen. We have new distance layers where you can measure distance between access points when you drop them on the map. So you highlight an AP and then you move it around and it shows you automatically dynamically change the distances to the nearest access points. That's amazing if you're OCD when it comes to placing APs on the map. You can measure the distance between the access points to nearest walls. Again, that's quite amazing and helpful, I would assume. And also, when you're working on a multiple floor design, and you have access points on adjacent levels, and you want to place your access points on the current level in the same locations, you will be able to see adjacent floors, adjacent APs locations on the current floor, which makes your design where you stack APs way easier. And the most popular feature was the fast walls drawing. Now you can draw cubicles, you can draw over existing wall segments without stacking attenuation. You can drop windows, doors onto existing wall segments. And you can even use key shortcuts. You can bind keyboard shortcuts to your different wall types. So you can just hit one key and switch between walls very, very fast. And lastly, we have UX improvements. And actually, you will see that we have a few demos lined up for you today. So you will see what's changed and how beautiful it is.
Great. Thank you, Mac. So the 4 key features that we're going to be showing you on this webinar today that can help speed up your workflow is, first of all, that new fast wall drawing mechanic. And we're going to show you just how much faster it is compared to doing it the traditional method. We're going to show you our amazing AI auto planner and how that can help you design a high-performing wireless network really, really fast. We have our auto wall calibration feature, which was heavily requested that we demo it on the last webinar, on this webinar. So we'll be showing you exactly how that works today, and then how that can help speed up your time when you're on site for measuring the attenuation of all of the walls. And then finally, the favorite way to do your wireless surveys using our autopilot survey mode. And we will show you how you can make sure that you do it in a way that makes it as accurate and as fun as possible. So they're the 4 key things that we're going to be showing you today. And first of all, starting off with the fast wall drawing. But I have a question for you, ladies and gentlemen, on the call today. Taking a look at this floor plan, where you can see it's quite a large floor plan. There's quite a lot of walls there, quite a lot of doors. How long would you say it would take to draw the walls for this floor plans? Just let us know in the chat. Do you think it's going to be 10 minutes, 25 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, a day, forever? How long do you think it's going to take to draw these walls?
Wow, we have some serious fast walls drawing team here saying 2 minutes, 30 minutes. It's fast, guys. Like, if you are able to do it in 5 minutes, you are really, really fast. Matthew, it's not as fast.
No, so there's a lot of people commenting lots of different times there, and I actually think I'm quite a proficient wall drawer now of drawing walls inside of Ekahau. So what we have prepared for you is I'm going to show you a demo now, 2 demos of the wall drawing using the traditional method and then using the new method, and let's see how long it takes to do both. So let me just prepare that demo for everybody whilst I am just grabbing it. Okay, and here we go. So I get my timer going and we are off to the races. And first of all, I start with the exterior part of the building. So using my thick window, then I change to the concrete wall type of material, and then going back to my thick window. Then I get to another material type and I've got to change to my solid wood door. So I flip to that, then I go back to drawing my window, and I can see we've got a concrete wall here. So I change back to that. So what I'm doing right now is I'm constantly going back and forth between the different types of materials for the outside of the building, so window and concrete. And now I finished drawing my exterior, and I'm going to go and do the interior walls, so all of the dry walls. But pay close attention to what I am doing right now as I am drawing the dry walls. I am not changing the material type as I am clicking on the doors. What you can see is I left click on one side of the door and I left click again on the other side of the door. Just remember that for now, because this is another tip and technique that we can use and leverage to be able to draw walls faster when we are working on our project files, or well, how I was doing it before anyway. So now I've got quite a lot of walls to draw and fill in, so I will just let the video play on whilst I am doing that. Now I'm done with most of the internal drywalls. I flip over to the concrete walls so I can then draw the stairwells and the lift shafts and things like that with the concrete wall type. Okay, now that I'm happy with all of my internal walls drawn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go back to all of those doors that we drew earlier without actually changing the material type. And what I'm doing here is I'm holding down my command key or my control key as I am selecting and highlighting these doors. And I just made a little bit of a mistake there. So I unselect that and I just continue going around selecting where I had drawn those anchor points on those walls earlier on for where all of those doors are. And you can see those white boxes appearing. So that means that we have selected just that wall type. And then what I can do is I can change it to be the solid wood door, and now all of the door types change. So that means I don't have to manually keep going around and flipping between the different wall types to change them. What I can do now, like you're seeing, is I just go around and I grab every single one of the internal doors and I update them all together to be that solid wood door type. So a little bit faster than doing that, and I check my timer, 25 minutes. Whew. Back to you, future Matt, on the webinar. Yeah, so I did see a few people put in around like 20 to 25 minutes for drawing the walls there. So that's how long it took me to do it, the kind of like manual way of doing it like that. It did take me quite a long time, and I feel like I'm quite a fast, proficient wall drawer now. So let me show you how long it took me to do it using the other method, which I will just grab that demo for you all now, and let me show you. All right, then I start the timer and we are off to the races for round 2. And I'm going to start with the exterior walls being the concrete first of all. And then as I come down to here, I want to change to the window type. But oh my goodness, what just happened then? I was able to change from concrete to window without selecting it from the drop down. And then what? I've just gone back from window to concrete again without changing it from the drop down. I hope future Matt on the webinar explains just how I was able to do this Wi-Fi wizardry of changing the wall type without actually changing it from the drop down. Well, I'm sure that I probably will. But now that I've finished the exterior walls, this is where the real fun can begin, and I can use this new rectangular wall type drawing mechanic. And all I do now is I simply left click my mouse and drag, and what I can do is it actually draws a whole room for me at the same time. And what you can see is this is so much faster than just drawing one wall at a time. And then as I move over to this section, I'm a little bit cautious because I want to understand what happens as I'm drawing this type of wall type over a previous wall. Does it overwrite it, or does it draw another wall on top of it and double up the attenuation? And well, the answer actually is it overwrites the previous wall. So where I had those exterior windows before, what I'm going to do after I finish drawing all of the internal walls is come back to it later and just change it back to the exterior window, which I will show you just how easy that is to do. But just look at how fast I am flying through drawing these walls again now for all of these internal rooms. It is so fast, and I have to say it is actually so much fun drawing walls this way. Who knew drawing walls could be so much fun again and make my life so much faster for drawing the walls? So once I finish drawing all of my rectangular walls, I just go and simply select the normal straight wall type, and I'm going to go back and finish off any of those walls that wouldn't have quite fit with the rectangular wall types and fill all of those blanks in. And I have pretty much done most of them now that I wanted to. I think there's a couple of areas, but I was changing wall type again without going from the drop down. Wow, that is faster. Okay, so once I'm happy with all of those walls, I now select another new wall type that we have, which is this predefined wall. And effectively what this means is that I can now go over any previous walls, and I can then drop a new wall type over that one. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the solid wood door type, and what you'll notice is that Ekahau is actually automatically changing the orientation of the wall as I move it over the wall. So I don't need to worry about changing it from vertical to horizontal. it actually does that for me automatically, which is really fast for me to go and update all of these walls. And by the way, you can change the predefined length of these walls if you want to as well. So if you had ones that wasn't like 1 meter, perhaps they were 2 meters or 5 meters, you can then go back over all of your previous wall types and then just drop this over all of them. And now I am pretty much done drawing my predefined walls. I just want to go back and update those exterior windows that got changed to drywall back to those exterior window type by simply dragging my mouse, hovering over them, and then changing them back to the thick window. And then I think I'm pretty much done. Wow, that felt way faster than before. Yeah, under 14 minutes. That's pretty much twice as fast as before. But anyway, back over to you, future Matt, on the webinar. It's quite strange talking to myself from the past to the future, but I saw a lot of people in the chat quite excited about the new wall drawing mechanics, and I have to say it felt so much faster doing it, but it's also so much more fun to draw the walls like that. And I saw some of people saying, does it overwrite and like double up the attenuation when you put the wall over the other wall? And it doesn't. It basically replaces the previous wall. So if you had drywall there before and then you use that predefined wall segment to use a door like the 6 dB door, it overwrites it and changes it to 6 dB. So you don't need to go back and change it. So a very quick comparison then, using the old method, it took me around 25 minutes. There was lots of clicking and it was definitely less fun compared to using the new method where it took me under 14 minutes. There was way less clicking and I definitely found it was more fun. So massive kudos to the Ekahau team for this new way of drawing walls, because I thoroughly enjoyed it and it was much, much faster.
There is one more thing, right? Like when you draw walls and you want to have like one wall sticking out segment that it's not close on the other side. In the old times, you would draw a wall, then finish drawing a wall, like right click, then go down and continue drawing the wall. Now you can just like draw, go back, draw over the same segment like multiple times and continue drawing like this. This is like crazy faster. Honestly, it is.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And Shivanda is right, saying we didn't explain how we were switching the walls automatically. That Wi-Fi wizardry. And well, who better than Mac to explain that Wi-Fi wizardry? How was I doing it, Mac? I think, this looks, it kind of reminds me a little bit of you, actually, this guy.
Well, not anymore. So since I learned that if you use the AI generating tool to create my avatar, I went out to see my hairdresser and cut my hair. So I can't be connected to it. Anyway, guys, this is what Matthew has done. He has selected a wall type, then hit settings, and move to the next slide. And then in the settings, you can see in the bottom part, the key binding, and you can select a number. And if you have like 4 different types of walls that you work with around in your design, you can just select like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, whatever. And you can very quickly switch between the wall types, which is speeding up the process even more. So at the first glance, you can't really see like much of an overhaul when it comes to walls drawing engine, but it's actually changed quite a lot. So we have rectangular walls drawing. We can drop a segment inside the wall. When you draw over the walls, it doesn't stack the attenuation, and you can do key binding to different wall segments pretty much. So amazing stuff.
Yeah, massive. It is really, really good. All the new little things, when you tie them together, it just makes you so much faster and so much more efficient when you are drawing the walls. And drawing walls is extremely important in Ekahau, because when we are looking at our heat map calculations, we use a formula that's called the free space path loss and the inverse square law. So when we have different types of wall materials in our environment, they're going to affect how much they let the Wi-Fi pass through it or not, which we refer to as attenuation. And different walls, they have different levels of attenuation. So it means that our coverage will be impacted in different ways depending on the wall type. So it's really critical and important that we understand what the attenuation of the materials are going to be for the site that we're designing for, or we're deploying at, or we're validating. And the way that we used to measure walls would be like this, Mac. Maybe you could just explain it at a high level.
Yeah, totally. So this is the old school and boring way of calculating, measuring wall attenuation. As Matthew has explained on the previous slide, we are using free space path loss formula to calculate the loss over the distance. So as you can recall from the previous slide, the loss over the first few meters is very, very fast. But then when you have your access point, your radio, and you position it like 5 meters or more away from the wall, all it takes to measure the wall attenuation manually is to check the RSSI on one side of the wall with your sidekick facing the radio, facing the access point. It can be existing Wi-Fi in the building. It can be AP on a stick. It can be a mobile hotspot. Just put it as far away from the wall as possible. Definitely not the first few meters because of high drop in RSSI. So you measure it on the one side of the wall, then you go to the other side of the wall. And if you are several meters away from the radio, there's, there's 20, 30, 50 centimeters distance difference on both sides of the wall. It doesn't really matter. It would be like plus minus, negligible amount of RSSIs. If you had like neg 36 on one side of the wall, and you go to the other side, your sidekick still facing the radio, and now it's neg 39, for example, then you can very quickly calculate that the attenuation of this particular wall segment was 3 dBs. And why do I say it's old school? Whilst it's great to understand how to do it manually, we don't want to be bothered anymore, do we? So since Ekahau AI Pro version 11, we can actually do the automatic wall calibration, meaning all it takes is to go to the site. You would go to the site before you do your design anyway, right? So you want to go to the site before doing the design to understand the existing RF condition, see how many channels overlapping you have there without your network even installed. What is the real impact of your neighbors on your channel plan, on your number of radios that you will install in the office? You want to understand the limitations about where to mount the EPs. So anyway, you will go to the site before doing, ideally, the predictive design. So when you're on site, you want to walk on both sides of the walls. You want to go everywhere, okay? And then you can leverage the new functionality inside Ekahau AI Pro to automatically calculate the attenuation of all different wall segments. But instead of just talking about it, let me quickly share my screen. Okay, Matt, if you could stop sharing. Let me share desktop one. There we go. So you should see my Ekahau screen, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the Helsinki office. I will clear it up a little bit to see all my networks. That's all our access points. And we have wall segments drawn. So you can see when I click on this wall segment, it's wall drive 3 dBs. When I click on this segment, sorry, I moved the wall. I moved the wall again. My Apple mouse is killing me. Okay, this is window interior 1 dB. So these are the predefined wall segments. You can see all of them are here. Okay, we'll go back to slides in a second, and you will see the predefined wall segments and their attenuations, like in a nice picture-y thing. But the cool thing about this is that I was walking, or whoever was doing the survey was walking on both sides of all the walls around the office. Okay, or most of them, and we can now ask Ekahau AI Pro, okay, Ekahau, based on the survey data, please calculate the wall calibration attenuation for me automatically. So I don't have to measure each different wall type manually. So I go there, and then Ekahau tells me, okay, cubicles, quality, not applicable. Window thick, quality, not applicable. This is because we don't have too many of these segments. So we were not able to walk on both sides of them, or we don't have enough data. But when we do have enough data, when we walk around longer distances on both sides of the walls that we want to measure, then we have quality good. And you can see doors, we thought they were 2 dBs. They are in fact measured across all 3 frequencies, 2.5 dBs. A cinder block was 5, now it's 4. The biggest change is concrete wall. It was 8, now it's 14.5. So these are not like a massive changes here. But let me stop sharing my screen, and Matthew, go back to slides, please. If we see what's happening in the next slide, next one. Yeah, this one. Look, on the left-hand side, we assume that using predefined wall types in Ekahau, we have attenuation of, let's say, 3 dBs, okay? So we draw all the walls all around this, space saucer from Star Trek around the meeting rooms. And we place one access point in the middle, and this one access point in the middle is all right to cover entire space. So we have good coverage, okay? So if capacity is not a solid requirement, we could just drop one access point to cover this entire meeting room space. Now,
Mac,
the real attenuation, yes.
did you just say Star Trek on
Yes.
May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day? Like, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I mean that's pretty bad, right, guys and girls on the webinar? He shouldn't be calling it Star Trek today. And I thought
They're both amazing. Okay, let's say it's a Tatooine moon, okay? And we have two of them in a white background, and the third one will be the moon from Earth. Cool. So on the left-hand side, we have one access point. We assumed 3 dBs attenuation. And in the middle part, we have real attenuation of the walls, which is 10 dBs. We measured it, and we know the glass segments, they are EM shielded glass segments with some, some Faraday cage wire inside, 10 dBs, okay? And the dry walls, they are dry walls-ish, but double, and they have some sound insulation inside them, okay? And it's 10 dBs. So in the middle, you will see how would the coverage look like if we still had one access point deployed in this particular environment. So based on wrong assumptions and without going to the site, our design would have been bad. And you can see in the red, if we have just one AP, wrong assumptions, didn't measure it, we waste time on doing a redesign, we lose credibility and money, we lose time. So it's bad. We want to save time. So go to the site, measure walls attenuation, understand what it is, create a very accurate building model, and then this will result in the design on the right-hand side, the circular one, the Earth moon. And now we don't have one access point. We have actually 5 access points to cover the space because we know that the walls, they are 10 dBs attenuation. Okay, I hope that this makes sense, guys. This is very, very important thing to do, to measure wall attenuation before you start doing your predictive design, because sometimes the difference is massive. Now we can go back one slide to, or 2 slides to check the pre-created wall types in Ekahau AI Pro. And you can see we have dry walls, bookshelves, exterior glass, wood with different attenuation values, marble, brick, concrete, elevator shaft. These are pretty much the 8 most popular wall types used around all the premises, okay? Carpeted office spaces, warehouses. You will very rarely see something else than these wall segments. And while it might be accurate, your assumption, you will never know unless you check. So always check that out.
Thank you very much, Mac. And the next thing that I wanted to show you is a demo of me doing 2 different types of design for a multi-floored building. So I did the manual way of designing the wireless network by placing access points individually, and then I do a auto planner design. And I'm really looking forward to showing you this demo. So let me just prepare that for everybody. Okay, and here we go. All right, so let's take a look at how I would design a 3-floored building using the manual way of doing designing, placing APs individually one by one. So what we can see here is that we've got a 3-story building with 3 floors, and I'm just going to select my access point that I'm going to use for this demo, which is the Cisco 9166. And what I'm going to simply start doing is just start placing my access points around the floor, checking my coverage as I am placing my access points to ensure that I am going to be meeting my coverage requirements. And I check on the 6 gigahertz currently, then I go over to 5 gigahertz, and then I'm just checking to see how many access points I've deployed on the 5th floor. I move down to the 4th floor, and I can see the coverage now coming through the 5th floor to the 4th floor from the access points above, because this is a 3D model, 3D building, and I can see the propagation between floors. So all I do now is I just simply place my access points. I check on 5 gigahertz, I check on 6 gigahertz. I see there's a couple of areas that's slightly gray, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. Then I just move down to the 3rd floor. I start placing my access points, and yeah, just filling in the gaps where we've not got that coverage. And I just place a couple more around here, and then one in the bottom right corner, and then finally here. Now the coverage looks good on 6 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So I guess I'm pretty much done. That took me like 1 minute, but oh no, wait, there's other things that we need to take into consideration when designing a wireless network, like secondary coverage. And yes, oh dear, doesn't look too great for secondary coverage. So I guess I've got to start rethinking my design. So I'm going to just move a couple of the access points around now to see how can I meet my secondary coverage requirements, because I'm going to need to place a few more access points, but I'm probably going to need to reposition where I've currently got some of them placed. So everywhere that you're seeing is currently grey at the moment. This basically means that we are not meeting our secondary coverage requirements. So I need to place some more access points around the office environment. So I'm just going to place a few additional ones, move a couple around to a point where I'm happy that I'm meeting my secondary coverage requirements, and I'm going to make sure it's all good on 5 and 6 gigahertz. So I just quickly flip between the bands. Pretty happy with that for the 3rd floor. So why don't I move on up to the 4th floor? And again, as expected on the 4th floor, not meeting our secondary coverage requirements. So I need to add some additional access points and then rethink my strategy of placement of access points for where I currently place them right now, so I can have them optimally placed and also meet my requirements. So yep, just going to move this little dude around, add another one here, and then one more in that room should sort out the secondary coverage for this floor. But yeah, not too happy with that position of that access point, so I just wanted to tweak it slightly. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much okay for this floor for 6 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. So I can move on up to the 5th floor, the final floor. And yeah, we can see a few of these meeting rooms not quite meeting the secondary coverage requirements. So I'm going to need to add an additional access point. One here should do the trick, I think, for around this section. Then we've got this kind of like space down here. So I think if I add another access point for where these users will be sitting in this kind of looks like a reception area. Then one more access point for these meeting rooms and this kind of lobby waiting area should sort out the coverage around here. Then just thinking, do I want to put this access point in this room, or maybe do I want to put it back in this room? Yeah, I like to tweak my design slightly and check again on 5 and 6 gigahertz. So that's looking good, and that's taken me now nearly 4 minutes. So I guess I'm pretty much done, but for my primary and secondary coverage. But what about just checking my overall network health? And I can see everywhere is currently failing right now on all floors. So I guess it's because I didn't actually change the channels that the access points we're using. So I can enable the channels view and I can see they're all on the default channel. So what I really need to do is run a channel planner, because yeah, all of my network is failing because I've got all of my access points on the same channel. So I open up our channel planner tool, because this is our tool that can change all of our access points channels for me at the same time. And I can select which channels I want to use on the different frequency bands and then which channel width. And because I'm based here in the UK, I'm going to just use on the 6 gigahertz band, the Uni-5 band, as that's all that I currently have access to. And I'm going to go over 40 megahertz wide channel plan for my 6 gigahertz frequency band. And it only takes a matter of moments. It runs through all of the floors for me and it updates all of the channels. And I can see now parsing is 100% on 5 and 6 gigahertz for my channel requirements. And I can see that my network health looks good pretty much on all floors. We've got a tiny little bit of red in the corners, but honestly, guys and girls, that's totally okay if you have a slight little bit of red on your floor plan sometimes. I'm perfectly happy with that. So overall, I would say that took me about 5 minutes to come up with a really nice design for this 3-story building that I was happy with. So yeah, I think it was around 5 minutes, 20 seconds, and it's 27 access points that I needed to meet those requirements. So what I want to do now is I'm actually going to delete all of the simulated access points that I use for this manual design, because what I want to do is I want to show you how long it would take me to do an auto planner design on this exact same project file. So I just simply delete all of the access points, and you'll be able to see now that there are no access points currently across any of the floors anymore now. And so I'm going to start my timer. Okay, now we're good to go. So let's see how long it takes me to do a auto planner design on this 3-floored building. So to use auto planner, I just simply select the auto planner tool, which I just clicked on there. I pick my access point. I'm going to use the same one that I did for the manual design, the 9166. I have some configuration options I can configure here, but I'm quite happy with the default values. And I have an option to let the auto planner design with capacity in mind. So I'm happy to select that. and it's going to look at my devices in my areas across the floors to make sure that it meets those requirements too. And I'm going to simply just use the exact same channel configuration as I did before. And here we get to see the phenomenon of the dancing access points as Autoplanner goes over thousands and thousands and thousands of iterations in a matter of moments to automatically come up with a design for me across the 3 floors. And if you take a look at that, that was 5,134 iterations across the 3 floors, and it's done 26 access points. So it's pretty much the exact same amount of access points that I used for my manual design, but it did it for me now in 1 minute. So that's pretty mind-blowing that with Autoplanner it come up with near enough the exact same amount of access points as I did in the same locations, but it did it for me in 1 minute rather than 5 minutes for all 3 floors. So that's pretty impressive, I would say. But anyway, back over to you, Matt, on the webinar. I was pretty impressed.
I covered to you, Matt.
Yeah, I know, right? Funny. Yeah, so I mean, I was really impressed with how well Autoplanner does to, you know, match pretty much the same amount of access points in the same locations that I did doing my manual design. And I was having to go back and check different things, you know, my primary coverage, my secondary coverage, my channel interference. Also as well, you know, I've been working on Wi-Fi for a little while now, so I would say I'm quite good at designing wireless networks, quite proficient. But imagine if you were quite new to designing wireless networks, you can leverage the AI Autoplanner to help you start with your design. And if you need to make some little tweaks here and there, it always comes up with a really, really good design for me. It does require you to put in the right details to make it work well. I saw a few people say in the chat that sometimes when you run Autoplanner, you come up with some crazy numbers of access points, but typically what we've seen cause that is when people put in like incorrect capacity details and things like that. So we can totally cover capacity on a future webinar. We've covered it before, but making sure you get all of the information right will make sure that we can come up with a great design for you. So that was quite a small floor plan and only over a couple of floors. Imagine if this was a larger floor plan and it wasn't 3 floors, it was 10 floors, it was 20 floors, 30 floors. Think about how much time that could save you with coming up with a baseline for your design in literally a matter of moments. So I was really impressed with how well it done. Mac, what did you think?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And guys, actually, even if you don't realize it, we are using the AI tools to help us out with designs for quite a long time since, well, actually even before the Ekahau AI Pro, so version 11. In all the versions, we had channel planner. Right now, the channel planner is more of the AI based. The approach changed a little bit in these 2 versions. Previously, we were using a simpler algorithm to avoid CCI, same channel interference, from the access points perspective. Now we use the AI to understand where clients will most likely be associated to the APs, and we want to avoid not only CCI, same channel, cross-channel interference, channel contention on the access points level, but we also want our connected devices not to suffer from station-induced CCI. So that's the AI, and we, you know, I don't know anyone that has Ekahau and does channel plan manually. Okay, it's just not worth it. Ekahau is so good at channel planning that we are leveraging AI to get that. So not only placing APs is the AI assisted planning, and it's amazing. Actually, guys, we've had some good questions in the chat, some of them about the channel plan, where Lee has said that isn't it down to the controllers to come up with the channel plan? And yes, on default, most vendors, they will configure channel widths, transmit and power levels, and make a channel choice automatically and dynamically for us. But the reality is that it's not always perfect or suitable for all the situations. Sometimes we'll have a mixture of channel width. Sometimes we'll have high transmitting power levels and low transmitting power levels in the same design, in the same area. We don't want that, okay? We always want to tell the controller to fix the channel width, okay? For example, if it's a high CCI, low latency Wi-Fi network, typically we'll always go for 20 megahertz. Sometimes if you have no neighbors, small networks, you might be able to use 40s, and that's relevant for both for both 5 and 6 gigahertz in Europe, and in States you probably would be able to go for 40s pretty much all the time with 6 gigahertz, hopefully, sometimes even 80s, not too often though. So that's the channels. In more challenging environments, you probably would like to set your channels static anyway, so you can take the input or the output from Ekahau Channel Planner or AI Planner and configure your controllers accordingly. So warehouses, industrial spaces, luxurious boats, whatever, I would set a static channel plan there, okay, because it doesn't change inside. You don't have too many neighbors, okay? However, in like the office spaces and more dynamic environments, we would still set the transmitting power level to a static or give it very little wiggle room, like between 11 to 16, 17 dBm, or set it just like, statically on 14, tell the controller use 20s, and maybe allow the controller to make channel choices. Okay, what other questions do we have there? Because I've marked some of them.
Yeah, so this one here in particular from Miguel saying, in what cases would you recommend using manual versus auto planner for when it comes to designs? I typically do an initial auto planner run just to get an idea of what Ekahau would do, but I end up doing it manually for every project. So Miguel, let me tell you what I've been doing recently that works really well for me is that when I've got a large project or a project that I'm working on, I always start with the AI auto planner. So I put in all of my requirements, I draw all of my materials like the walls, etc., etc., and then I use the auto planner to give me that kind of like baseline, that start for that design for me, so I know exactly how many access points I need based on all my capacity requirements and some like suggested locations. And then what I would do is I would then just manually tweak some of the locations of where the access points are, because you'll go to the site, you'll take a look at one of the positions for one of the access points, and you'll say, oh, okay, there's a fancy thing on the ceiling here. I wouldn't be able to just quite mount my access point here. So what I would need to do is just move it slightly. So I would then just tweak it. So I personally like to start with the AI Auto Planner, get me like good like baseline for how many access points and the configurations that I'm going to need, and then just tweak it based on my specific requirements from after I've gone on site. That's kind of the approach that I like to take. I do it for all different types of environments. You can do that in multiple different types of environments, and yeah, that's what I've been doing. How about you, Mac? What is your kind of go-to?
Absolutely the same. So sometimes I'll just do manual, but most of the times, especially in bigger projects, I will spend time doing walls, calibrate the walls, and then I will start with the AI Pro and maybe move stuff around. It's just faster, okay? So I was reluctant to start using the AI to begin with, but I embraced it and actually using AI more and more in everyday's life now, okay? Just to give you a few more examples, asking ChatGPTs to write all the other stuff for me sometimes. Matthew is using the AI graphic generators now for some stuff we use in marketing. It's quite cool. And I'm using AI for interior designs, for example. That's crazy, okay? Crazy. So why not use it for Wi-Fi networks, right? Okay, we have another great question. Is this previous demo, strictly based on coverage or other considerations for device profiles with offset? Let me answer this very quickly. So by default, if you don't do anything else, Ekahau AI Pro will look inside your coverage area, like the area that you want to cover inside a project, and see your coverage requirements, primary, secondary, signal strength, this kind of stuff, and it will design against coverage requirements. Ekahau best practices, okay? Coverage requirements. Next 67 primary, next 67 secondary kind of thing. But then when you start dropping devices into your coverage areas, so you say you have like around entire office, it's Ekahau best practices coverage area, but inside there you want to have 100 laptops, 100 smartphones doing 2 megs for laptops, background sync for smartphones, for example. You have a tick box, like a toggle, where you toggle optimize for capacity, you toggle that, and now you are taking into consideration not only coverage is easy, by the way, but also capacity. So now Ekahau will start calculating how many radios do you really need to cater for all these devices. And you have to be quite realistic when you specify the amount of devices and their SLAs. We've covered it a few times. I think we are getting to the point where we will cover it in not too long from now in the next webinars again, the capacity how to specify capacity correctly. So the AI Pro can work with AI Auto Planner correctly, and you have like easier time scoping for your networks. We will cover that again. But yes, AI Pro looks at both capacity and coverage. So I hope that answers your question. Waldeck. And when it comes to offsets, you asked about offsets as well. We didn't use offsets for this one. Offsets are actually a different thing, not too related for this discussion, because this is a design discussion. And very long story short, don't complicate your life by using offsets in design, but often use offsets in validations. And again, that's a topic for entirely different discussion. I hope it answers your question. Okay, do we want to answer any more questions before we move on?
I think we could probably save some of those questions for the end. Let's get through the last few pieces of content. So
let's do it.
The next thing then, Mac, we are going to be talking about is the Ekahau survey app and our favorite survey method, which is autopilot. So why don't I prepare that demo and then you can talk over it just to explain kind of what's going on. You can set the scene. Maybe if anyone, actually just quickly, Mac, what is the Ekahau survey app? And then what would you have to have connected to it to do the survey, just in case there's anyone on the webinar that doesn't know what that is? Just whilst I'm preparing.
Good question. So Ekahau survey application runs on your mobile devices, okay, laptops, mobile phones, tablets, whatever you have. You connect a Sidekick captures all the information for you passively without connecting to the network. It doesn't matter if you use a phone or a tablet or anything else. The quality of the information captured is always the same, but when you use Apple devices, for example, you have access to the AR kit, which is a LiDAR, radar, a camera, gyro, accelerometer, and compass and GPS all combined together to give you like a great capability where device is able to locate itself after the initial calibration. And that's what we're doing now. Autopilot, guys, is the most accurate method when done right. It's more accurate than continuous survey, and it's more accurate and faster than stop and go. And you will see how cool it is. This is not staged. We are not staging anything for the sake of webinars. This is all real. We do it frequently ourselves, all the conferences, some cheeky projects here and there. We use it, okay? We use it all the time. So it's not staged. Let's take a look at how autopilot worked at Busy Cisco Live. So Matthew has clicked where he is. You can see it in a red dot. We have to have reference points. He's now calibrating his device. So the blue dot will be able to, follow itself. He's clicked again next to the column, and now he just walks hands off around Cisco Live, around Ekahau booth, and you don't need to click, okay? You don't need to click. You don't need to click either at all. This is the easy environment for the autopilot. If you're in more cramped spaces where you have changes of light, changes of, carpets, some checked carpets, difficult things for the camera, you might sometimes need to correct it, but very infrequently, okay? And we'll actually give you examples about how many times you have to click when you do autopilot in a real-world environment versus the continuous survey. I counted the amount of times I had to click when we were yesterday in London in Ziv Davis Ekahau office. So I hope that this shows you how cool the Ekahau autopilot is, and please guys, please use it. It's amazing. It's there for you, and it's the fastest and most accurate method. So let's go to the next three slides. We'll be talking about the autopilot. So these are the autopilot survey tips. When you do it accurately, okay, when you do it all right, then the autopilot will be very accurate, okay? So you need to have a scaled floor plan. Floor plan must be to scale, okay? If you have a floor plan from PowerPoint or a floor plan drawn in Excel, it won't work with autopilot. It must be up to scale. So tip 1, scale your floor plan accurately, but it must be a good quality floor plan. Tip 2, use known reference points, at least to initially calibrate your device, like what we've done here, what Matthew has clicked here. He's standing next to the column. He's used that to tell iPad, you are here. And then he went 20 meters farther away next to the column, in the middle of it. His iPad is in the middle of the column. He clicks very accurately, zooms in, clicks, I am here, and now you're calibrated. If you do that, it will be very, very accurate, okay? But important stuff, when you initially click, I'm starting here, ARKit is starting with you, and it needs a few seconds to start collecting information. So don't click and walk. Click, wait a few seconds, and then walk. And it really works. It really works. The longer the tip 4, the longer the initial calibration, the better. So if you do it over 5 meters short wall, it won't be too good over extended distance. Example, when I teach our ECSE classes in my studio here, this is a small studio, 3.5 by 3.5 meters or 3 by 4, whatever. It's small. So the calibration distance is tiny. When I just walk around my studio here, it's good enough. But if I went out with the autopilot, it would quickly escalate to in an inaccuracy. Okay, if you're in a real environment, just use the longest wall you can find where you can locate yourself on the map to calibrate your device accurately. Okay, the longer the calibration, the better. Tip 5: walk normally. Don't think about it too much. If you don't cover your camera, if you hold your device normally, so it sees like several meters in front of itself, you don't have to hold it like stiff, like that, where it's showing the camera straight in front of the camera view. You can just hold it normally, look down, and enjoy walking around with your lightweight survey equipment. Okay, it's good exercise if anything. Tip 6: have fun and try not to make everyone else around too jealous for you looking super cool, because Sidekick 2 is looking super cool. You wearing it, you probably are looking super cool. I would add another a quick comment to the tips. When it starts to sway away slightly, again, the same values apply. You have to correct the AR kit accurately. So find yourself a reference point on the map when you see that you sway away like a meter or two away from your path where you are. Stand next to the column, click where you are, and Ekahau will correct your path retrospectively. If you corrected it accurately, it will be accurate again, sometimes for even a few kilometers. So it's as accurate as you. Okay. And now we've done a test about the performance of stop and go. Stop and go survey is you click where you are, then Ekahau waits for 6 seconds, almost like 5.5, to collect the data from all the channels twice, takes an average, drops it on the map. Then you move 2 meters farther away, you click again, you wait, and it's fine when you're surveying, a small room or 2 rooms or 5 rooms maybe. But when you move from point A to point B, then you are throwing away data. You are not collecting anything. So it's not only slow, but it's also the least accurate, okay? Because you have less data points. That's the stop and go. Tons of us, we are still using stop and go. It's not wrong, but it's not the most accurate method anymore, okay? Now, the second method in the middle is the continuous. And now the continuous is better, typically, because when you click in point A and move to point B, even when you're moving, you're still collecting data and dropping it on the map. So when I start on one side of the office and start moving towards the other side of the office, and it's 10 meters or 20 meters or 50 meters, when I walk at a normal pace, I'm collecting data, I click in my point B, and Ekahau will drop the data points across the entire path that I've taken equally, okay? So you're not throwing away data. Now, continuous from experience, we were testing it like yesterday on site. It's 3 times faster than stop and go to cover the same square footage of the office. And with continuous, to cover this small office in London, it was 124 clicks, okay? I had to click where I am 124 times. I need to be super accurate 124 times. The reality is, it's not always possible to be able to correlate yourself with a position on the map accurately enough for the survey to be extremely accurate. It's only as accurate as you and your ability to locate yourself in correlation to the map. Now, lastly, the autopilot. To do the autopilot survey or autopilot walk around, honestly, guys, if you can walk your dog, you can do the survey with a Sidekick and autopilot. It's that easy. You just do the initial calibration, and we've done like the long wall in the upper part of the office. There is a long wall to calibrate. We've used that stuff. And then we started moving around, and I had to correct myself twice in the office, okay? So I had to click twice to calibrate the device and then click twice to be absolutely plus minus few centimeters accurate for my entire survey. It's not achievable with different survey modes. So please do use autopilot because it's absolutely smashing and awesome.
I couldn't agree more. I love using autopilot, and you can do it on your iPhone or your iPad. So yesterday when we was in London, I was just walking around with it connected to my mobile. It's so lightweight. It's so easy to just walk around and collect that data connected with my Sidekick too. Yeah, really, really good. And we've got a couple of other time-saving features that we love to use. So divide and conquer survey with CloudSync. So myself, Mac, and Leo is one of our amazing SEs based here in the UK as well. We was all working on the same project file at the same time. So what that meant was that I could cover 1/3 of the office, Mac could cover 1/3 of the office, and Leo could cover the other 1/3 of the office. And what happens is magically the survey files all get merged, and we can then cover the office from just doing a little part each and save a lot of time. Me and Mac have done that on multiple occasions. When we did a really, really large warehouse, we both was walking around collecting the data at the same time, and it meant they didn't have to do the survey of the whole environment by yourself, and you can share it amongst your peers and work together on a project, which is super cool. I love being able to tag my access points and do lots of big editing. So perhaps there's lots of access points that maybe need to be suspended from the ceiling via a pole, not Mac, an actual pole, and you want to add some notes to them. It makes it really easy for reporting and doing that. I love the channel planner. So channel planner makes it really easy for me to come up with a great channel plan design for all of my access points. Make sure I'm not going to have any channel interference. I love also adding notes to the photos as I go. So yesterday when we was in the office, we were doing our data collection. And then what I like to do is where all of the access points are, you click on the icon and you can add a picture to the icon of the AP into the notes, and then you've got a picture of how the actual access point is installed, and then you can then draw your notes on top of it, which makes it really, really useful for analyzing later on. And then our custom template reporting is super cool. You can customize the reports to show exactly what you like to see. So me and Mac, we've spent quite a bit of time building out our own custom template reports for different types of assessments we're going to be doing on site. If it's a design, if it's a post-validation survey, is it an assessment troubleshooting survey, we can build out our own custom template report to run on our specific use case for our project files. And then finally, copy and pasting using Ekahau and the keyboard shortcuts and the key bindings is super cool and fast. But what I would love to know is the users that on the call today that use Ekahau, what are some of your favorite time-saving features that Ekahau helps you with? Let us know if we've missed something in the chat that you particularly love that helps speed up some of your workflow. So yeah, I see Dale's popped on. Maybe Dale's going to tell us one of his favorite Ekahau time-saving features.
Yeah, Matt, absolutely. This is a great list of time-saving features, but the one that I want to call out a note here is the ability to add notes and photos when to your survey project. So, conveniently from your mobile device that you're running the Ekahau survey application on, you can just snap a photo right from that integrated camera. No need for external cameras. So that's a key feature that I like. That's a time saver. A lot simpler than, trying to maneuver that with a laptop, for example, and use external cameras.
Yeah, for sure. Stu, what's your favorite time-saving feature?
Yeah, that would be divide and conquer with survey. I mean, surveying teams is super it is mind-blowing because you're capturing more data, and no one said more data is not good. I mean, more data is better, getting an even more accurate picture of what the environment looks like and passing over top of each other in different parts of the office. And it's really easy to see if someone didn't survey an area. Can easily go in and say, hey, can you go survey that other area for me? Sure, no problem. Right. So the collaboration feature is, in my mind, probably one of my top favorite features for time saving.
Yeah, we had a question. Can we show the divide and conquer feature? And I promise you, we will show you that on the next webinar, which, by the way, is an extremely special one for multiple reasons. The main reason being is we've got a very, very exciting product update for you on the next webinar. And the other thing that's very special is that we are going to be doing this webinar on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. So please make sure you scan that QR code, get yourselves registered for this upcoming webinar, because I promise you, you are going to be blown away with how amazing this new feature is and how much it's going to help you. I promise you're going to absolutely love it. So I don't want anyone on here to miss it. Sign up for it. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your co-workers. They got to be here. They've got to see it next Wednesday. So May the 17th on a Wednesday, get signed up because it's going to be massive.